Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ordinary Humans, Extraordinary Choices, a podcast about ordinary humans who've navigated periods of their life in extraordinary ways. The goal of this podcast is to show you that you can begin making extraordinary choices at any stage of your life to start making progress towards your dreams, and that you never have to accept that today needs to be anything like yesterday was. I'm your host, Vamsi, and today's guest is Emtest. Welcome, Emtest.
Hey Vamsi, hello podcast. I'm really excited to be here, but also have this conversation with you. I think it's like a really good topics that you have, and I'm really excited to get into it.
Yeah. Would you be comfortable sharing your first name with the stream, or just prefer Emtest?
Yeah, no, my name is Adam, but I think I do prefer Emtest in situations like this, if that's okay.
Sure. We'll just call you Emtest then. No worries. Yeah, it's very nice to meet you. Would you like to introduce yourself to the viewers and just tell us a little bit about your background, what you're passionate about these days?
Yeah, I mean, okay, because guys, I'm Emtest, also known as Adam, I guess, in real life. I used to play competitive league for like 5 years straight. I played in the Turkish scene. Like I tried all these years to get to LEC. I never made it. A bummer. I have a funny story to share about that later too. But I basically just been interested in esports my whole life, basically, right? And always wanted to be able to live off of playing the game. So I'm really happy I made that able to happen. And all in all, I'm just a guy that wants to just enjoy himself and have fun on the way, right? While also like trying at getting better at something like every single day, basically. Doesn't matter really what it is. Like it could be league, it could be just making good choices in life, staying healthy, but like getting better, like that doesn't really matter what it is, but just getting better every day. I think it's like what's driving me. Yeah.
Seeing that progress. I feel the same way about my podcast.
Yeah, no, exactly right. That's what we're doing here.
So I wanted to ask you, that's interesting, the story that you told. Is your accent, if I'm detecting it correctly, is it from Sweden?
Yeah, it is. I'm Sweden. I forgot to mention that, but yeah, I'm for sure Sweden. I think it's like in the past actually I tried to hide it, but now for some reason I feel like it's just why should I actually hide my accent? Like I love it kind of. So
There's no reason to hide it.
Sweden.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
you
think it's
you live in NA, right? But you are from, where are you from actually?
originally India, and I bet that's what you had on your mind.
Yeah, I did actually.
Yeah, many people ask me, what's your accent? And I tell them, and they're like, oh, yeah, I was thinking of India, but I think they didn't want to offend me by being wrong, right? Because it could have been close to something else.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I just wanted to mention, because you said you've been interested in esports your whole life. There is a friend of mine from the School of Support community named Gota, his username. And he's trying to hit Masters in League very hard. I think he's 17 years old, and he really wants to get into esports. He wants to get into the, ERL Division 1, Division 2, wherever he could get by 19 or, by this season, basically. So, so this podcast might be very, in a way you could be speaking to him, right? Because you could be an inspiration for him to grow.
I mean, hopefully, right? If I can do anything, that would be nice.
Okay, so let's delve into some of these maybe better choices. I'll pull up the list of questions I had sent you before. Let's see. What got you interested in coaching League of Legends, and how would you describe your teaching/coaching philosophy?
I think when I quit playing, I was honestly. Is this? Wait, am I allowed to use profanity?
You can swear. Yeah, you can swear. I should probably just start telling people that at the beginning so they know.
Yeah, maybe. I think when I stopped playing the game that I like competing, that I've been competing for like 5 years, right? I was just so fucking devastated because I literally had no clue what to do with my life. And it was just like, okay, what do I like? I tried to get to this. I tried to achieve my dream, right, which was to play LEC. But I didn't achieve it. And I was like, okay, it felt like everything was kind of coming crashing down, right? Because now suddenly I was like 24, reality starting to hit me. Like I need to find like a stable job. I need to find a wife, all this like all these things that come stressing you. But in reality, like there's no stress, right? Like you can do whatever the fuck you want until you're like, if you're not 40, like, even if you're 40, like you can still do whatever you want, right? But I think when I stopped playing, I was really scared about what I wanted to do, and I tried a bunch of different things. Like I went to I went to like a Swedish island, like in the archipelago in Sweden. I was like bartending there for some time. It was like really fun. I learned a lot about like myself and my like. I learned that I actually was like good at like socially interacting with people. Like that sounds really funny, but when you've been just playing the same game for like 10 years straight, and you only been like interacting for the most part with other people that share the same interests, it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's really easy to get into not fall into the trap, but like it's really easy to get into this habit of like, oh, I'm actually my whole identity is just based on League, and I have nothing else going for me. And I thought
Mm-hmm.
the same way about myself, but once I started to do other things, I kind of realized that hey, actually, I'm not just one. I'm not just one. Like this was just like kind of one chapter in my book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And realizing that when I actually went to that island and got to socially interact with like people and realizing that I'm actually very capable of like doing these things and I'm actually good at it, then I
Mm-hmm.
started to realize like, hey, wait, maybe my mindset just has been wrong this whole time. And just because I quit competing doesn't mean I have to stop being involved with League all around, right? I
Mm-hmm.
got into casting a little bit after I stopped playing,
Mm-hmm.
which was also really fucking funny. Like that was a blast I had, and then I realized as well that I felt really like I'm the type of guy that I'm usually not very confident person. Like I usually just I would like to think that I'm humble and I don't really think much of myself, which sometimes can be a hinder for yourself. Like you should be in some things in order to achieve them, you have to be kind of confident in yourself. You have to believe in yourself because if you don't, then who the fuck will, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've been kind of struggling with that a lot. But when I got into casting, I was like doing it the first time, and I felt like for some reason I instantly felt like holy shit, I'm really fucking good at this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it was, but it just felt kind of natural, and that also kind of gave me confidence that like I'm not just I can do. It's okay to like try new things, and it doesn't like it's okay if you're shit. It's okay if you're not good.
Mm-hmm.
But that also kind of gave me the confidence when I did. I went to like I did different jobs and then I did casting. I felt like I was good, and I felt like I was doing good on the other jobs as well. And I was like, okay, actually I can do pretty much whatever I want. And then I was like, wait, maybe I should try a different approach. Maybe I should get actually into coaching and try to do like educational content. Try to just teach people what I wanted someone to teach me when I was playing, because once again, like this mental part, I've been struggling like with that my whole life basically. Like when I was actually, you have to tell me too if I get like off track or something, and you can like pull back
No,
the direction, right?
it's fine. I like listening to you.
Yeah, okay. So when I was, this goes way back, but I had like so many. I was playing handball like basically my whole childhood, and we were like our team was like really competitive. We were like practicing like 7 times a week. We had like game day, like like, all of this stuff, and it was really like try hard, which I also like, but I struggled this whole time with like mentally wise. I never thought I was good. I always thought I was shit. Like even though so many people were telling me like I'm good, I never believed it myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of followed me into esports as well. I never really, even though I was playing for so long, I rarely went to the game like confident. I always went to the game like kind of only thinking about what the enemy team will do to like fuck me and how
Mm-hmm.
I can make sure to not lose the game for my team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is just hindering. It's just a disaster if you think like this in esports and like in general, like in life. If you're just playing not to lose,
Mm-hmm.
then you never win, right? And I think kind of realizing that those things I kind of had to like teach myself a lot of these things, and I feel like it's not talked about enough. Now it's kind of more updated in like the at least the top tier of esports. Like a lot of people have like sports psychologists, they have dietists, whatever. Like they have people around them that like help them with this like mental part. But I never really, because I was not playing in like the top level. I never really had this, and I really wish I did. So that's why I'm like trying to do these kind of things now, right? To make sure that people actually learn that League is just as much about mental as it is about actually your gameplay, right?
Mm-hmm.
So long
Yep.
story short, that's kind of why I got into coaching.
So let me just take a moment to absorb that.
Yeah. Yeah, no stress, man.
How old are you now?
I'm 25.
I'm 27.
Hmm. So you're born 95, right?
95,
Or
yeah. So
95,
you're
yeah.
97, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you were a competitive player, and looking back, you realized there was this gap in your mindset. You were playing not to lose rather than to win, and that's not a way to excel really at anything in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And you looked back and you were like, I want to make it so that nobody else has to go through what I went through. So I'm going to try to help them see what I couldn't see, I'm going to instill them with confidence and show them that they can really believe in themselves and their ability to learn and grow and be confident and play to win. Not just play to win league, but play to win life.
Yeah, basically. That's a good summarization, I think.
So, do you think you are now confident? You've cultivated that trait, or is it still a work in progress? How's it going?
I think it's a work in progress for sure. I think that's the good thing about the coaching thing too, because I'm kind of, because once again, I tried. I felt like I studied this so much when I was playing because I always struggled with it. So I felt like I learned so fucking much, and I'm kind of asking myself why I couldn't really like learn this type of thing and like commit or like not commit to it. Obviously, I was committed like 100%, but it was like a kind of a mental block when I actually played the game competitive, like I was competing. And I think now, when I stopped competing and kind of stopped revolving my entire identity around competing and playing League, then I actually feel like it helped a lot, yeah, with my like confidence overall. And I feel like perhaps it wasn't so much about like looking back now. Of course, there are things I'm really happy that like I learned a lot from this, but perhaps it was more like of a general like confidence level in myself rather than just about the game, right? I think it was more or less than that. It was probably just more about me, like not being able to probably like childhood things, right? That I probably don't even know about, but like what happened. But you know, we all have like our issues from. Even if our child, like my childhood was by no means like bad. My childhood was fucking great, you know. But of course, you're always gonna have struggles from that, and like maybe perhaps not trauma is not really the correct word, but you always like you have good sides from your childhood. You also have bad sides which you learn, and some of these get stuck. And I think now I'm actually able to resolve most of them my own, which is really fucking great, right? So now I think it's different. I'm not sure how it would be if I would start compete again. Maybe that would be the same thing. I'm not really sure. In my head, I want to think that I'm a completely different person now, so I think it would be really different, and I don't take it as hard anymore. Like, because once again, right, when I played and I was competing, basically every single game was just, it felt like my life was on the line, right? Because this was my entire identity. If I was feeding, if I was inting, then it means that I was a shit person, right? Basically, that's how I was thinking. But now it's not near the same, right? Now, I mean, I have a bad game on stream. It's like not the same thing, but it's kind of similar. But it doesn't mean that. Obviously, it doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. Like now, when I think about it, it's fucking insane that I was thinking that way. But it was kind of really self-destructive, yeah.
It's a very common mindset. I found that with a
Yeah.
lot of players I've talked with and with myself, where my identity and self-worth was tied to my performance in the game. And that made it hard to learn because it meant that I wanted to hide from my mistakes or blame my teammates, because if I admitted my mistakes, then it meant that I was a bad person, rather than that I just made a mistake and I can learn from it, right? It
Yeah.
wasn't a healthy
No,
mindset.
exactly right. I think just one small thing as well that it was just recently that I'm still learning like about is that it's also the way you kind of talk to yourself and, you know, like kind of how you handle things. Because I think 2 days ago, I was inting on stream like so hard, and I was saying like I'm so fucking boosted, I'm so fucking bad. But in reality, like I am not bad, or like I'm not I as a person am not bad, but it's just the action that I did, the play, like that was bad. But if you kind of word it like that instead, it's easier to learn from. But if you do a play and you say like I'm boosted, I'm bad, then it means that it's kind of unsolvable, right? Because it's just you, like you can't fix this. But if you then kind of word it differently and kind of, oh, that thing was bad, but I could have done that instead. Okay, nice. Then you can actually move on. But if you keep telling yourself as well that you're fucking shit, then of course you're gonna get stuck in this like really toxic environment, right?
Yeah. I'm really enjoying this conversation, by the way. You're very
Yeah.
articulate, and it's inspiring
I
for me to hear a lot of these things.
I do as well actually. I think it's I'm getting more comfortable now too. I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
this as well
Go
because
ahead.
obviously you have pretty much all the questions. I like your take, like whenever you are putting in your take as well. I love that. I think it's great. But I just want to make sure that like do you want me to like ask you questions too, or I think it's just better if we stick to like you asking the questions, right? Then we have a conversation about it. I think that's how a podcast usually works, I guess, with like a guest.
Sure, yeah,
Or
but I have no problem innovating. Like, if you have any questions or you're curious about me, feel free to ask. Like, it's a conversation,
okay,
right? It's not
okay,
just a one-way
all
lecture.
right,
Yeah,
all
it's
right,
interactive, so go for it.
yeah, okay, that's good.
Feel
Then I
comfortable with
will,
that.
yeah, okay. If I don't ask you anything, it means that I have nothing to ask, I guess.
Sure.
It's not that I'm just hiding it, but if I think about something, I will for sure.
Yeah.
Good.
And if you
Good shit.
notice what you're doing there, you're setting very clear expectations and boundaries, which is also a good thing to be doing, right? That's something I'm
Yeah,
trying to learn to do as well. Just
that's good,
ask
man.
for clear boundaries. Yeah, it makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
One thing I wanted to share with you when you were bringing up everything that you were talking about with bartending and learning to socialize and realizing that you can basically belong anywhere. Um, I've been a fan recently of Brene Brown's work. She's a vulnerability and shame researcher. And she says this thing that, if you go around in the world looking for ways in which you do not belong and ways in which you are not worthy, you will always find it.
Hmm. Yeah,
But if
facts.
you learn that you are intrinsically worthy, no matter what, and that you belong to yourself first and then to others, and you don't, negotiate yourself, you don't change yourself to be liked by others, because once you do that, you no longer belong to yourself, right?
Yeah,
And I think
yeah,
what you're starting to do with your coaching and helping people is you're starting to realize your values and who you are, what you stand for, and not compromise on them.
yeah. I think it's kind of similar to. Actually, it's kind of almost like identical. I think what Will Smith said this too. Like
Hmm.
whether you believe that you can do the thing or not, you are correct. Like
Right.
if you if you don't believe you can do it, then you're probably right. But if you believe you can, then you're probably
You're
correct
probably
as well,
right.
right?
Yeah.
So that's a good it's a good saying, I guess. To say.
Yeah. And I think Bruce Lee also mentioned that as he progressed, he found there were no limitations except the ones that he set on himself in his mind.
Yeah, yeah.
So, same thing.
No, for sure. Just kind of being aware of that as well is like helping so much in like dark times as well, right? Because everyone, no matter what, like it literally doesn't matter if you're like the most successful person or not. Like people
Hmm.
all have like our dark times, right? It just doesn't mean that the dark times get like easier, but just being aware of those things is just making it easier to get through.
Yeah. I've spoken with people who've managed billions of dollars in companies, and they experience a lot of the same anxiety that I do.
Mm.
And they talk
Mm.
about it. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, they're human like me, turns out. Who would have
Mm.
thought?
Who would
They're
have thought? Yeah.
flawed, vulnerable human being just like me. Everybody is. So yeah. My
I
next
think
question.
actually,
Sorry, go ahead.
oh,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I wanted to say, I think it's
Hmm.
also. I need to find the first. I need to find the English word for this.
Sure.
Prejudice? Is it prejudice? No, yeah, prejudice.
Prejudice.
If I
Right.
yeah, okay. So Swedes in general, if I may be prejudiced, is also like
Hmm.
if I may be prejudiced. That's not a verb, is it? How do I
You
say
can be
this?
prejudiced. Yes, you can be
Prejudiced. Okay.
prejudiced. Yeah.
Okay. Because that's the thing about it as well. It's like Swedish people in general, they are like so humble, and it's like so. It's like a rule that you should not. It's not like you can't be confident in yourself, but you should never believe that you are like
The best.
the best, right? Like that's why, like like Ibrahimovic is like one of the most famous Swedish people, and this guy's like either you love him or you fucking hate him, right? Because as a
Hmm.
Swede, like you don't really respect these kind of things if you are believing that you should just be one of the one in the pack, like one of the like you should just be normal. I guess that's what you say. I'm not sure if
Hmm.
that's the similar like in India. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, you don't live there anymore, but maybe that was. Is that something that is? You think it's quite similar in
I
in
don't.
in India as well, or maybe you don't know, but I was kind of curious about
I
that if
don't
that's like,
think so. Let
yeah,
me think about it. But it's interesting. I didn't know that about Sweden, that the
yeah,
culture was very much like I know, for
yeah,
example, Finnish people are considered laconic, like they're supposed to be quite silent and, not really talkative,
yeah,
very
yeah,
brief and direct. With
yeah,
Swedes, I didn't know it was about humbleness, but I did notice you seemed very down to earth, right? Like you
yeah.
interact with people just like you're one of them. You don't consider yourself special or anything. Doesn't feel
I
like
mean,
it
it's
anyways.
because I am right. Like that's
Yeah,
the thing, right? But yeah,
yeah.
I do. I think it's just as I said, right? It's
Mhm.
one of I guess humble is a good word to like kind of describe it, but
Yeah.
so in some ways this can also hinder you sometimes because if you just like I would just really quickly like my uh I think it's really different now with my generation, but my mom, for example, like she has always been back when she was like raising me and my brothers when we were really small. It was just really like if you're the mom, you're supposed to take care of the children. You're supposed
Hmm.
to just do all the housework. You're not supposed to go for your dreams. You're not supposed to do like anything that is like that. That was just the norm, I guess.
It's similar in
And
India. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I think it's
Mhm.
probably similar in a lot of other countries too. But
Yeah.
I think this whenever this just makes me whenever I hear her talk about like she has been has been at like the same job for like 40 years, which like she loves that job. So I'm not saying that this is like bad for her, but her dream was always to want to work in like the police, the police department, and she never. I'm pretty sure she never did this because once again, when she was like small, the norm was just to grow up, get children, have a stable job, and just raise her children with love, which she did. Like she did it so fucking well. But I just know that I think this is like a byproduct of the mindset that a lot of Swedish people have, is that like you shouldn't go for it most of the time. You should just be, once again, you should just like be happy with what you have, and you should. Like, obviously, you should strive for more, but I think that's like maybe one mindset that like, kind of hindered her from actually going for this kind of dream that she had, right? And I think it's just this is why this is where the norm of like, oh, I'm down to earth, I'm humble, but I'm also like, why should I have anything special? Why should I chase my dream? Because I'm not special, right? I'm just one in the pack, which is like then it can be actually really hurtful, right? But I think. Obviously, it's a good thing to be like humble and like down to earth and all these things, right? It's just this is what I kind of experience with like Swedish people in general. Like at least like the past generation, like that's a huge trouble, I think. And I'm really happy that I am not, I'm not like that. Like I am humble, but I'm also not like I'm not gonna be stuck in the same job for like 25 years just because it's like safety, right? Of course, I understand everyone that does this, but it's just that was something that was really important for me too when I was growing up. To just go for it, right? That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'm happy for you as well. I mean, for me personally, I quit my job on Friday, and
Oh yeah, actually, that's
yeah,
true.
it was a stable government job with a good pension, good benefits, healthcare, all of that, right? And so many people in my life were like, "Why did you quit your job?" And for me, I've never felt more free creatively and to do the things I want to do than when I was in my, than when I quit my job and also when I quit my previous job. So it seems that, maybe things happen when they should, basically.
Yeah,
I quit when I'm
yeah.
ready to move
No,
on to better
I
things.
completely agree. Are you? What actually? I'm kind of curious. What made you? So, Did you feel like you were stuck, or did you not? Did you feel like you were not developing, or like did you just want to be like more creative with your time and passion? Like, what made you actually like decide? Okay, actually, I'm gonna like fuck this. I'm gonna quit.
So I'll go into that in a moment. I'd like to
Yeah.
answer your previous question first,
Yeah. Okay.
which was about Indian culture, right?
Yeah.
So I realized Indian culture is similar in some ways, which is there is a traditional beaten path. So that's why you'll often hear of parents wanting Indian kids to get good grades and then become a lawyer, doctor, or engineer. And in Indian culture, in a way it's a little bit the opposite though, because status is a big deal. So throwing lavish parties, living above your means, having a big house and, servants basically, like people who aren't paid that much really to
Mm.
clean the house. And you kind of project this image of wealth and riches. And then marriages are often arranged by parents. So
Mm.
they tend to look at, oh, is your son a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer? And for the
Yeah.
daughter, it's like, oh, what are her parents like? What's her family like? And things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And does she know how to cook and clean and all of that, raise kids? How is she docile? Will she? All these things of like judging people. So by the way, I'm also really happy that you're not like your parents, right? Because I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
every generation has a chance to do something better, and ultimately that's what parents want. They do want
Of
their
course.
kids to be happy, even if
Yeah.
they disagree with how their kids are finding happiness. Ultimately, they want their kids to be happy.
Yeah. That is true. That is true. Kind of wanted to.
Yeah.
I kind of want to elaborate on that. Like,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
would you say that? Do you think that this will, like, in your country, for example, do you think that this like thing will change in the last, like maybe in the future, like
In
when
India
you
or in
start to,
Vancouver?
um, I mean, perhaps actually maybe you don't know about India. I was thinking more about India, like in general, like the
Hmm.
culture there, and like how, because I'm actually really interested in this, but
Sure.
because I think that to me, mm, actually, I met someone in my country,
Hmm.
just random, like just complete random woman on the street that I was just. She just started to talk to me, and we just had like a really good conversation. And she was from India, and she
Hmm.
explained to me like, because I never before I spoke to her, since I'm just since I'm in my country, we're used to living in one way. I never understood this type of way. Like if someone told me that their parents would like choose like who I would marry, I would be really devastated, right? But she explained like the good parts of it, and I kind of
Yes.
started to like understand why,
Yeah.
which was really interesting, like really fucking interesting. But do you think that this, since this has been in like the Indian culture for so long, do you think that this will like change, like, or do you think that like I'm not asking about your opinion, but I'm kind of asking about, do you think that this will always kind of be the case, or because I feel like just us young people now as well with all the like technology and stuff, I feel like we're not so bound, like we are not just, not stuck is not the right word, but like we are just getting a lot of impression from all around the world all the time, right? So perhaps we are not so stuck in the mindset that we have in like our own countries. We kind of just get we kind of get information from all across the globe, right? And I'm just curious. I'm actually not sure what question I wanted to ask, but I'm curious about, do you think that this type of way would change like in the future?
Yes, I think it has already started to change and it is changing, but I don't think it
Mm.
will ever disappear because I think you're right and that woman was right. Did you get her name?
I do not actually. I did
Okay.
not. I like her name was really hard for me to pronounce it. So it was.
Fair enough.
I think I remember it then, but I don't remember it now. Sadly.
Are you still in touch with her or able to contact her?
I know where she works. She
Oh,
told me
okay.
like come by, and I might just do that someday,
Cool.
but I haven't done it. No.
Okay. Well, yeah, let me know if you do. I'd be interested in hearing more from her. Maybe she can come
Yeah.
on the podcast.
Actually, yeah. Actually, I think she would love that. To be honest.
Yeah, because it seems like she liked sharing. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
it was
think it.
really, yeah.
Mhm. I wanted to say
Uh,
something funny about India.
oh
Just
yeah. Go ahead.
it's kind of a place where things are backwards. So
Yeah.
the marriages that you and I are used to, they're called love marriages there. Because a regular marriage
Uh,
is not a love marriage, it's arranged, right?
oh, actually, yeah.
And
True.
then there, they call meat non-vegetarian food because vegetarian is the default, right?
Oh,
So
actually, yeah. That
you've
is
got
true. That's
everything's backwards. It's kind of funny.
actually true. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting as fuck.
So I think it is changing. But my brother, I think he did marry out of love. But I
Yeah.
remember a few years ago. So I'm living now with him and his wife. I just moved in
Yeah.
a few days ago. I'm
Yeah.
renting a bedroom here. And basically, a few years ago, he did ask my parents. He was like, "Hey, can you help find me a wife?" And in a way, it kind of makes sense. And I've heard that even the Japanese salaryman culture does this, where the company will help find a wife for the guy because he's basically signed a contract to live with the company for his whole life. And they will take care of him. You know, his housing, his wife, they'll find him a landlord, they'll do all these things. If he has a
Mm.
passport or visa issue, they'll apply for it, they'll help him. But in exchange, he basically will never quit and he'll work like 100-hour weeks, if not more.
Mm.
You know, he will
Mm.
live at the office basically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the trade-off. And it's a very cultural
Yeah.
thing. It's not like a legal contract, it's just cultural. So in
Yeah.
India, it's nothing that extreme, but there are definitely a lot of cultural traditions and expectations. There's lots of things about like not marrying a non-Indian or marrying
Yeah.
outside of your caste. Like there's a caste system that many people
Oh
still
yeah.
follow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of interesting juice there. But I want to try to remember there was a previous question you asked me as well.
It was kind of wanted to ask you what made you say fuck this job.
Oh yes, fuck
Gonna
this
just
job, I'm
go.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
like that song.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I was trying to do too many things. And this is the funny thing I wanted to bring up as well when you were talking about like your mother and the culture of being normal and not having ambition. Um, so I think there's a difference between collectivism and individualism, which is one axis. And from what you're saying about being part of the pack, it sounds like Sweden may have a sort of more collectivist culture, meaning be part of the team, don't stray, don't stand out, don't do your own thing, don't be an individual
Mm.
who's different and weird and strange
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
innovating or whatever. And the other aspect is ambition versus not ambition. Because I guess you can be ambitious while still being part of the pack,
Yeah.
but in a way, you would have to lift everybody up with you to take the pack with you. So you'd have to be a leader of the pack. You couldn't just be an explorer on your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No,
uh,
exactly. That's a
mhm.
good way to explain it.
So for me personally, I left my job because I was doing too much. So if you asked me 5 years ago, would I have two startups? Would I be studying a new career? Would I have started a podcast and be doing this like 3 episodes a week and hired an editor and all that? I would have told you, hell no. Are you crazy? That doesn't sound like me at all. But you know,
No, we're here.
22-year-old me didn't know anything,
Yeah.
really. Like, he had no
Yeah.
idea. Like, he thought starting a business is hard, but in the internet age, it's not. You know,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
incorporate for like $50. Uh,
That is true.
so yeah, I'm just realizing that everything in life is easier once you start. And I should have known this because this keyboard in front of me, I brought this up last episode, but this keyboard in front of me, my mother bought it for me when I was 17. Cherry MX Blues, super clacky if you guys can hear that.
Yeah.
My mom bought it for me when I was 17 because I wanted to write my first novel for National Novel Writing Month.
Hmm.
And it was just 50,000 words. So I just sat down and wrote 1,700 words a day, and it was done in a month. And I was like, wow, writing a novel is doable. It's nothing like massive, huge.
Yeah. Holy
And
shit.
yet, despite
Still
that,
impressive
yeah,
though.
no, I mean, you can do that. You could just start writing 1,700 words a day.
Yeah, but the like I think everyone can do that, but not everyone will, you know. Like actually
Yes.
sitting there for one whole straight month and doing the same thing every day. I think
Yeah.
that's the hard part, right? I think that's what you did. So that's respect.
But that's also the easy part because remember what you said at the beginning that what you like is improving at something every day, day by day,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
seeing progress.
That
You
is
look back
that is
a
true.
month later and you're like, wow, I'm a much better writer, a much better league player, a much better athlete, whatever it is, right?
That is true. I guess the challenge is to also like be able to look back because I
Yes.
think it's just really it's so common that we don't ever look back and we're always like
Mhm.
stuck in the future. Like, oh, I want to go here, I want to go here, and we never realize when we actually get to that place because it's
Mhm.
always like the new thing on the horizon, right? The new mountain we have to climb, like the new thing we have to achieve.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of issue, right? So I actually it's good that you brought that up. Now it makes me also like be able to like see what happened because I also thought that the hardest part was like to start this like coaching thing as well, right?
Yeah.
And now I realize that like while it was for me, it's like in the past I've been so like struggling with actually like starting things because I feel like it's just some mind in me is like what's the point, right? I will just fail and it's not gonna be something that is consistent. But I like usually while starting it's like not hard. At least for me, it's been like the hardest step is to actually start. Like that's the hardest step for me. And then to
Yes.
keep to go doing it, it's not as hard, right?
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, to be able to like kind of look back and realize actually what you achieved is like really important too, to keep motivation up because if you get stuck in this, like I want to keep do this thing, I need to do this next thing all the time, then it's going to be really hard to be motivated. I think I'm not saying it's bad to like look at the future, right? You should be like you should have strive for new goals, but not at least like appreciating what you accomplished already. I think is what you have to do.
Hmm. Are you familiar with Daigo Umehara, Street Fighter esports player, Japanese?
No, no.
No. He was, I think still is known as the most prolific Street Fighter player in history and one of the most prolific esports players in history because he dominated the scene for over 10 years. And that's pretty rare in esports.
Damn,
Um,
how do I not know about this guy? What the fuck?
but
That's crazy.
I looked at a recent tweet of his where someone had sent him a question. He was answering in Japanese, but there were subtitles. It was, what is the point of gratitude? Why do we feel gratitude for the cow that we eat? The cow doesn't care. And so I
Yeah,
guess in Japan they must have a culture of offering gratitude to
yeah,
the food
yeah,
they eat. But he
yeah.
basically responded, and it's related to what you just said. He responded with this idea that the gratitude is not for the cow, but it is for us to appreciate what we have. And he said that one day he was sitting down and thinking about gratitude and wondering why does gratitude fade? Because at some point we start to take things for granted. And he said he realized that when people were walking and the bike came along, it must have been an amazing invention. And people were really grateful for it. But then that gratitude had to die down so that people could build the car. Because otherwise they wouldn't have, the bike became mundane. It was every day. And they're like, yo, we need better. The bike is slow. So they made the car. So gratitude
Yeah.
has to fade for innovation to come into play because then we want more. And human greed, I think, is actually a good thing because it's built everything around us. The technology that we're using came from human innovation and greed, the want to improve things. So I think we need both. You need to self reflect and be grateful. Like, wow, I've done so much in the last few years. I've come so far. I've overcome so much. And then you look forward and you go like, well, what do I want to overcome next? And use the past to know that you can do it. And yeah, you're right. The first step is the hardest, and inspiration is in every first step you take. So once you start, it becomes a lot easier. Once I started the podcast, it became much easier. And I
Mm,
can tell you, you're on the right track. I can confidently
mm.
say that. Looking at your reviews, you're charging a low price, you're offering an amazing service, you're delighting your customers. Every review is like people are just loving you, right? And that's exactly what you want. You're choosing quality over anything else, and that will grow faster than you expect.
Yeah, thanks, man. I think it's really fucking insane. I never thought about it that way. What
Daigo.
that guy said. Yeah, what did you say his name was?
Daigo.
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 Okay,
Yeah.
Daigo.
Daigo.
Yeah, that's some goated shit. I
Yeah.
feel like
He's a goat.
because I always, yeah, that's the thing. I always picture as greed as something bad, right? Because you're like, why can I not be happy with what I got? But when you express it like that, and what he said, like it actually makes a lot of sense. Damn, that's a nice. Ah, that was really mind blowing actually. Thank you.
No worries. This is what I love to do, right? This is what I live for. So
Yeah.
thank you for giving me the opportunity to this space to say that, right? Because you're inspiring me to think about and say these things. That's why I love conversation, because you can never predict how a conversation will go.
That is true, yeah.
I
I
love
never
every minute
imagined
of it.
this, to be honest. So this was really good, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just pull up the next question one moment.
Yeah.
Is there anything else on your mind? Take a few seconds to think about it.
Not at the moment, no. I think
No
I think it's
worries.
good. Let's keep this up.
Cool. So yeah, what subjects interested you as a kid in early school, and what did you dream of being when you grew up?
What subjects interested me?
I liked science,
Yeah.
philosophy, yeah, English.
I think I did as well. Both of these I kind of enjoyed. I also like, I mean, PE. I guess it's called PE in English.
Physical education, Gym,
This was by far my favorite, I think. But it's just because it felt like it was not really a lesson, you know. It was just you were just playing, like you were just having fun, basically, like at least in early times. But I guess that was the thing too. That like I was never really I mean, it's really normal too, right? But I was never really comfortable in school. Like I would always have, no matter what the lesson was, if I was like good or not, I would. And I don't know where this stemmed from, but I would just like if the teacher asked for like an answer on a question, even though I knew the answer, I would like constantly just I would constantly have second thoughts, and I would never raise my hand because I was just turbo scared that if I said the wrong thing, everyone would think that I'm a fucking dumbass. And I don't know where this stemmed from, but that because of that, I felt like there was like a lot of pressure in school, just on myself, right? Not from anyone else, but that's also made me like not really enjoy it as much. And like every lesson was like I was just trying to hide. But I think my favorite subjects were for sure like English and PE, I think. And also like we had like, I don't know if you have this, but we had like music lessons, not the right word, but we like got time to like study, like learning an instrument or like sing or you know having fun with like music. That's like interested me a lot because then I didn't really have to answer anything, right? I could just do things on kind of my own, right? What was the second part of that question?
What did you want to be when you grow up or grew up? Yeah.
I mean, I think for as long as I can remember, like from when I was like 5 or 6, I knew I wanted to like be. Like back then, esport like didn't like exist in the way that it does now, right? Like now, the magnitude of like esports right now is like insane. But it was like kind of starting there. Like people play like Counter-Strike 1.6, and I remember just watching them or like hearing about them like in the like from somewhere, and I just felt it was so fucking cool to like, because I was so like everyone was just so used to all these like normal jobs, and I was like, wait, what the fuck? My biggest interest is like playing video games, and I can actually like what I can live from this. What the fuck? What is that? So I think from as long as I can remember, actually, it was like playing video games for a living. I think I didn't really have anything else in mind.
What were some of the earliest games you played?
I played like a lot of like Swedish like local games like my mom bought for me when I was like really small. Like I think I sat by the computer for the first time when I was like 2, I think. And I had to share it with my older brother because we only had one computer at the time, which is like, I mean, completely normal, right? And no one really had like double PC setup. I think we got that later, but he used to play a lot of Warcraft 3. I think he played like a bunch of. So I played that with him, and then he started playing World of Warcraft. So I just sat there with him and watched him play, and I then started playing on my own as well. I think like these two. I mean, obviously I play like before we play like Nintendo, right? And like I play like Super Mario and like all of these things, but the first like computer games I remember like vividly is like World of Warcraft and Warcraft 3, I think. Which now thinking about it, I think World of Warcraft got released in like 2006. I guess I must have been way older than what
9
I
years
must
old
have.
when you started?
Yeah. I must have been. I must have like for sure played a lot of other games before that, but I don't remember them really. Like just like Super Mario and like Mario Party. I think I played on like the Nintendo. This was like insane. This is like my favorite game for sure. I can't believe it was because like it's so much fucking RNG. So I don't know why I enjoy this, but
Yeah.
I really like those games. What for you? What are your favorites? I mean, you're only 2 years older, right? So basically similar.
Yeah. Well, I remember playing a lot of RuneScape, so another
Oh, actually, yeah, I
MMO.
did as well. I don't know how I forgot about that. I played a bunch of that. Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
fun. Huh.
I like learning about fletching, smelting, all of that. Like I was
Yeah.
like, damn,
Yeah.
RuneScape is teaching me more than school. You know,
Yeah.
like it's
Actually,
kind of
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think actually when you say it, I think RuneScape taught me more English than any other game. Like,
yeah.
it was just this was insane. Did you play? I think before I played RuneScape, I played Tibia. Do you know about that game?
TB, I've heard of it, but I didn't play
Yeah, okay. It's basically similar, just a worse version of RuneScape. Like the
it.
characters are made like in paint. Like it's so funny. Like they're so, and this hasn't changed. Like in like the graphics are now the same. Like 20 years later, like it's so insane. But
Yeah,
this game was really funny too.
cool. Yeah, I remember. I guess lots of kids can grow up on MMOs, you know, from the internet age, basically.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
also remember my older brother and I, we would get disc games given to us by my dad's friends, or he would buy them, and then yeah, we'd play them together. Like this old Lion King game, you know, this old like Tarzan game, Metal Fatigue, which was a sort of
Oh yeah,
RTS strategy game with mechs. So yeah, lots of
yeah.
old games.
Oh yeah. Oh damn,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
So you always wanted to be an esports or a gamer of some kind. That's
I mean,
interesting. Yeah,
perhaps that's like a reality I've crafted afterwards. I'm not sure. Like maybe I'm just like,
possible.
I
Yeah.
remember that I was like, I know for sure that I was thinking about how cool it was that people were actually like getting paid to play.
Hmm.
Um, but it's not like from when I was 5, I was like constantly thinking about, oh, how can I become a pro, right? I never thought about that until I became like hit the like diamond in league. Like that's when I like realized, okay, actually maybe I can like try to do something with this. But it was never like I had it in the back of my mind, I guess, but it was always like other things like school and like I was playing handball, once like so much, and there was like not really a lot of time to actually play the games. But I think as well when I started high school and I was 15, I guess, then I had
Hmm.
to make like kind of a choice if I wanted to keep playing handball or not, and I was just so fucking fed up with it, so I just quit, and then I got more and more time to like actually play the game, right? And I guess that's where I like really realized that okay, actually now I want to kind of commit for this, right? I remember actually when I was fucking bronze,
Yeah.
and I was playing with my best friend like a lot. I think we were playing like back when there was like I'm not sure when you started playing the game.
Probably 2012 or 11, like
Season 2, right?
season two ish. Yeah.
Yeah. Then it's the same for me. So the back
Hmm.
then there was eel, right? So you had like just like a number. Yeah, I mean I'm sure you remember this, and I think I was like worse than. I mean, obviously the lowest eel you could have was like 0, but I think it was actually not possible to have that. Probably like it was just literally impossible. I think I had like 600 eel or something. I think it was like literally like bronze 10, like something that is really like insanely bad. And I
Hmm.
remember me and my friend played a lot of like. I just remember he played like fucking Riven top, and I played Cannon mid
Hmm.
because I wanted to all in them at level 6. And I remember I hated to play against Anivia because I couldn't all in her at level 6 because she had her fucking egg. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know why I remember this, but I just hated to play against Anivia because that was like, yeah, I felt like it was like insane counter of Cannon.
Yeah.
But then I remember when we were like, so we were like bronzes, and I met someone in my game when I started to go. I went to like silver, I think, and I met someone in my game and we started talking, and he was like, hey, let's create a team together and like play together and like compete. And
Hmm.
I tried to convince my friend who was like playing in the same handball team as me to like quit the team and like play league, like only play league when we were like basically like fucking bronze, which
Hmm.
was like really funny.
And did he
Obviously he
do it?
didn't. No, I didn't. I didn't do it. He told me to fuck off, I think, and I didn't quit as well, right? But I at least we like tried to play. I think we also played like some crazy shit. We had like Nocturne and TF, and we thought this was like insane combo because you could just ult across map like Perma. But yeah, that team did not last a long
Yeah.
time. But it was just funny. I had that idea already then that I wanted to like quit. I don't remember how old I was here. I think I was like 12 or something. But
Hmm.
it was good times. Good times.
What age were you when you hit diamond? Do you remember?
Mm, I mean, I have it on my I closed my client. I think I got diamond in, I think it was 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think in season 2, which was 2012, I was silver.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember the next season somehow, I don't know how. I guess I stopped making excuses. Then I went from silver to diamond like one season. So I guess when 2013, how old was I then? 13. I was actually not even that young. I was 16, I guess. 15, 16.
Mm-hmm.
About to turn 16, I guess. No, wait, that's not. Fuck. I need to check this. I cannot get
It would
out of
have
my
been
head.
16 or 15, 13 plus 3, right?
Yeah, because I think it had to be either 2013 or 2012, but I'm pretty sure it was 2013. Yeah. So okay, it doesn't matter. Either 15 or 16, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about
yeah.
learning not to make excuses.
It's a really hard like topic because I think
Mm-hmm.
that's also not something that I was like actively thinking about when I was like fucking 15, right? I was just playing the game, but
Mm-hmm.
I think this was just random. Like at some point, I was perma playing and I was stuck in bronze and I was like complaining about my team all the time. And I was like, if there wasn't for my team, I would be like at least like gold. I thought,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't think there was like a moment that came to me like, oh, if I stop making excuses and I focus on myself instead, then I can be good and I can actually climb. But I think I was just playing and naturally I just got. It was not as bad. It's not like I was like playing to improve. I literally just played the game because it was fun, I think. But there was also like, yeah, there was not really a revelation that came to me like, oh, I'm gonna improve at this now. I think it was only when I actually hit diamond, that's when I was like, okay, now I actually have to improve because now I can actually like do something with this. But it's a really tough question to answer, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me take a stab at it, maybe.
Yeah.
So at some point, it seems like you realized that you were the only common factor in all of your games, and that you needed to take 100% responsibility for everything that happened in your games and learn from any mistake that happened, no matter what. Even if it looks like your teammates hinted you, you're like, no, that's on me. Let me figure it out. What could I have done differently? And so you got better.
Yeah. I think that revelation came after like I climbed a lot. I don't think I was thinking like, oh, this is my fault that this guy died because I could have pushed me there and I could have moved to him and I could have, done all these things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that came
Afterwards.
afterwards, yeah. And
So
I'm not
then
sure
what
what
gave
it
you the
was.
climb to diamond? We don't know.
If I knew, I would be like, I would love to like tell you because I would love to know myself, but
Yeah.
I actually have no fucking idea. Like I just know I was stuck a whole season in like silver and bronze, and then the new season came, and I actually have no clue. I literally don't. I don't know. I was just literally playing, and it felt like it. I think at the time I was. I think literally I might have told myself at the time when I started to climb a lot that I was like, okay, now I'm actually just getting lucky with my teams. Like I'm just actually getting good teammates now. But obviously that was not the case, or maybe it was. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
probably not. If you climb like 3 tiers, that's not like. But I have no clue, to be honest. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know where that came from. Literally,
No worries.
it's
No
also quite
worries.
funny.
Yeah, that is funny because when you start, this happened to me, right? I played League 25 days in a row. I was
Yeah.
playing 5 games a day, getting coaching with Coach Cupcake like every weekday that I could.
Yeah.
So I was very dedicated. And I started to notice that I did feel like I was getting better teams, but that's mainly because I was looking to take responsibility for things, right? So
Yeah.
there were times that my team would just, I would notice when they were just doing amazing things because I wasn't trying to blame them.
Yeah.
I was actually
Yeah.
open to following up on their plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that is true. I think that's actually a good thing too. That when
Mm-hmm.
usually when we're stuck in this mindset that it's not our fault, then we're always looking for fault in others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think then we're never able to realize, oh, actually that guy was fucking smurfing it. Like in
Mm-hmm.
my last game, for example, I was so fucking fed on that this game that I just played before this podcast. Like I had
Mm-hmm.
like an insane. I was fed from like minute 2, and then my Alistar was just leaving me alone and going to kill enemy top. And I was like, okay, nice. I get Sola XP, I get gold. As long as I don't die and I stay away, I can maybe drop a wave for him if he gets something done on the other side. But I think if I was just in the mindset that like it's not not being able to recognize when my teammates are doing a good play and I adapt to it, then I would probably be like, wait, I'm fed as fuck, guys. Why are you not like just camping me? I will carry the game for you if you just play around me, right? But taking a step back and just realizing when they are actually doing good things as well is like it's really healthy for you because you just feel a lot better playing this way, right? I'm not sure how to do like there's not like I'm not sure if there's like a step process on how to do that, but I think it was as I mentioned, right, when I started to like take care of my own shit and like be admitting that like it's okay to not be insanely good, but you have to first accept the fact that you can be better, right? You can do better things, and it's okay if you fuck up, like it's okay if you are bad, like it's I mean it's bad is it's a bad word to express it because it's not like a fixed thing. You're not like just bad and it's impossible to fix, right? But being able to realize that as you said, right, when you start to take responsibility, you're able to actually see the good things that all other people do as well.
Yeah, I'll send you a philosophy article after this that I've liked quite a bit. It's about
Yeah.
taking responsibility in life as well. I think there's one part in it that says something like a bad CEO, when he delegates something to someone else and they mess it up, he says, I delegated it, he fucked up, it's not my fault. What I couldn't have done anything. A good CEO takes responsibility for everything and says, no, I could have figured something out. That was on me. That was my responsibility.
Yeah.
So he owns
That is
everything in
true.
the company. He
Yeah.
takes full ownership. And you can
That
do
is
that
true.
in League. You can do that in life. You can do that with anything. And your life will get better. You will learn
That is
more.
true.
And you'll also feel more purposeful because you'll have more control, right? Because you're taking more control. You're deciding, I can actually influence and impact whatever I want. I'll find a way. And then it comes back to what you said, Will Smith, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether you believe it's possible or not, you're correct.
That is true. That is really true. I think the only dumb part about this
Mm-hmm.
is that I think when I started to take like responsibility for literally everything,
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes, it would be like really, really like
Mm-hmm.
because no matter what, like even if I think it's a really good mindset to have, of course, to be like able to take responsibility for everything. But at some point actually this fucked me as well because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
my top lane was dying 1v1 and I was like literally like, oh, what could I have done? Maybe I could have pushed this wave and then pinged my support to go top lane and I can just chill and farm and maybe that was actually my bad, right? But
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's not that's like an extreme thing because those things literally like just you can't even though you take responsibility like it's like the same in life like even if you take responsibility for everything and you can like learn new ways to like tackle things, of course, like you can't control the weather, right? You can't control like this, I guess. But that was like just a small time when I was like really really taking responsibility for literally fucking everything, and that's like kind of hurt me mentally as well because I was just
Mm-hmm.
constantly blaming myself, right? But I think it's like all in all it's just a really great thing, right, to be able to do because as you said you allow yourself to like learn a
Mm-hmm.
lot more things and your mindset is not stuck anymore, which is just the most important thing, right? This is why I say to people as well that like just go into the game with like and type down something you want to focus on before the game even starts so you have something to kind of look back on.
Mm-hmm.
This is not just to like, okay, this game I'm only gonna like look at my like improving my wave management so I don't die to jungle, etc. But just working on something for yourself, for like you to improve on, just
Mm-hmm.
allows you to stop stop autopiloting and stop like kind of looking for other factors to blame, but yourself, right? And this is like the thing. It's like it could be. It sounds really fucking generic, but it's like more about the mental part of things. That when you set a goal for yourself, you actually work to make it better, and that means that your brain is actively working instead of just going into the game and be like autopilot mode. And you as soon as something goes bad, you start to blame everyone else, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
basically it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Two things I want to share. First is I think there's a worthy distinction to make between responsibility and blame.
Mm.
Because blame is backwards facing. It's basically saying, playing blame games, pointing the finger and saying, well, whose fault is that? Oh, I did this, it's my fault, it's their fault. That's different from taking the responsibility to figure out the future, because responsibility is forward facing. It says, I'm going to do something to make it better next time, or to make sure this doesn't happen in the same way again. It happens better next time. So you can take responsibility without taking blame.
That
And
is
thus
true.
your mental does not need to be stacked with all of this blame. Your responsibility actually frees you because it makes you feel free to consider creative plays such as, oh, I could have pinged my support to go top and maybe that would have been cool. And you can be curious, right? You can be
Yeah,
a
that
scientist.
is true. I think that's a good word actually. Curiosity is really, really good word to describe it. It's perfect.
Mhm. Yeah, because that's fun. Because when people limit their ability to consider options, then that kind of makes it hard to play the game, to feel enjoyment, because you almost feel like you're trapped in your lane. You feel like you can't impact the map. But
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
actually impact the map in lots of ways,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
with your
yeah,
communication and with your
yeah,
wave management and all these other things.
yeah. Exactly. True.
Let me try to remember the second point. Oh, right. It was a story
Mm,
about how I was in the Vigar V2 Discord streaming a game
yeah.
because they were encouraging me to play my solo queue. This was at the end of my 25 days, and I had stopped playing solo queue. I was kind of burning out. It was too much for me. I
Mm,
couldn't sustain it.
mm.
And then I was streaming it to them in Discord, and I had a Z support. And they were the people in Discord were pointing out this Z support's not doing anything. But I constantly saw that actually he was poking them well. If I had just played War of Attrition and just pushed the wave in, he could have poked them under turret multiple times. We would have been
Mm,
fine. And they had Twitch plus something, and they couldn't do anything
mm,
if we
mm.
just kept pushing them in. But I didn't do that, so I lost the game at wave 2, right, with my
Oh,
decision making.
yeah.
And but because I was focused on what I could do, I actually ended up getting like a triple or quadra kill at the end in a team fight, and there was some fun stuff.
Mm,
And my learning objectives were improved. Like I had a plan for every wave, and I made the wrong plan for the wave. I was consciously
yeah.
thinking about it, and I followed my learning objectives. And so when you have a learning objective, your entire perception aligns around it, and then it doesn't matter whose nexus blows up. It doesn't matter who's dying,
That
because
is true.
you get to play the game, the mini game that you've created within the game.
Perfect. Yeah, I completely agree. And as you mentioned, right, it's just about when you do that instead, you put your focus on something else rather than the the digital points that ends up on your screen after the game, like if you get a plus or minus, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't just value your performance based upon that last game that you played, if that was a win or loss, right? Like you stop caring about these things as much when you, as you mentioned, when you set a goal for yourself and you're actively. But it's just funny to me because I feel like it's just so many people are just mental blocked from this. This is why, which is why I'm encouraging them to actually set a goal for themselves, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not about it's not in some ways of course it's about getting better at that goal, but in a lot of other ways it's just literally about stop like kind of unclogging your brain, and start to thinking just a different way. And when that works for people, they're like, wait, actually I'm enjoying myself when I'm playing now. I'm not just focusing on getting that LP. I'm not focusing on like, getting a rank that, like, I guess makes me feel enjoyment for like 30 seconds when I get it, and then afterwards I'm back to like being not depressed, but like being just kind of just always focus on these like digital points, right? I think that's a big like takeaway, as you mentioned. Like when you start to set goal for yourself, everything else aligns with that, right? And you are able to create that mini game for yourself. That doesn't matter what anyone else is doing, but as long as you're doing your thing and you're doing it well, then you can be happy no matter what the result, right?
Yeah, exactly. You are no longer reliant on extrinsic results because your intrinsic process is constantly making you better no matter what.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can lose games and you're still getting better, and then you'll eventually win games because you are a better player.
Yeah.
So
Exactly right.
your goal was to
Exactly.
wave manage better, you get better at it. Your goal was to get
Yeah.
more last hits, you get more last hits. Your
Yeah.
goal is to hit them when they go for CS, you get better at that.
That is
Um,
true.
and
I
you're
think that
right. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the problem is though that, as I mentioned before, that the consistency is the hard part, right? As I mentioned when
Yes,
you
sticking
type
to
the
one
novel,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that's the thing too with this, like all because
yeah.
not just one thing is gonna solve like all of your problems, right? Things will change, like your problems will change, your like perception of things will change too, and that's like the hard part, I think, to be able to consistently like keep this mindset with like feeding in new things to work on, and like new things to keep your mindset this like of a growth one.
Mm-hmm.
This is the hard part because it happens a lot when I'm like, now for example, I'm a really good mindset, but I experienced in the past that I had a good mindset for like a couple of weeks, and then something happens, and suddenly I don't even realize it until it's like
Mm-hmm.
not too late, but until I've already like dropped so much in like mental wise and like my performance wise because I'm not focusing on the correct things anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
then suddenly I'm like, wait, I stopped focusing on this thing, and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
even sure why, but it hurt me a lot, and I didn't even realize it. So the consistency part is really like what's the hard part, right? Like realizing things and starting to actively work on it is it's really good because it makes you feel really good. So you want to keep doing that. But eventually, I guess you stop thinking about that for some time, and then like this ends up being not going back to square one, but you take one step back, or like 2 step backs, 1 step backwards. No, 2 step forward and 1 step backwards, and then you repeat the process, I guess. But the consistency part is definitely like the hardest part, I think, about this.
I agree. Consistency is challenging, and it's good that you notice it, even if you notice it like after it's already caused some damage, because each time you notice it, you can bring yourself back to that mindset, and it will get easier over time until it's just automatic. You don't have to think about it. It's second nature to you.
That is true. That is true, for sure.
So I want to ask you a question that might take us on a bit of a tangent, might be a bit jarring, but my question is, what is the most memorable coaching session you've had since you began coaching in December, late December, right? So it's been about 2 months.
Yeah, 2 months, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Most memorable. I have to think about this one.
Take your time.
The first one that comes to my mind is the latest, but I kind of want to go deeper than that. Like the first that comes to mind is my latest session with Sola, like the streamer, because I feel like I've improved so much because with him I'm doing like this long-term thing, right? And I feel like just comparing the first session that we had compared to now, just 5 sessions later, I feel like I'm a completely different coach, and I feel like I'm actually I feel like I've actually learned a lot about like how the way I talk and how the way I like approach things, which like was really like enlightening and motivating to like realize that after our session. But I think so that's like definitely one candidate, I think. But that was just, once again, that was very, very recently. I'm trying to think about another session. Oh yeah, it was. This was also one that was also recently, but I was coaching like a master tier jungler, and I was not, obviously my AD carry skills and my support skills are, and my knowledge in that is like way higher than what my jungle knowledge is. But since the jungle is like always what you play around, I figured that I know a lot about jungle as well, right? Obviously I know a lot about all the roles, but for sure I'm like specialized in AD carry and support. But when I went to that, and he was like actually like not bad elo, like he was master tier, I thought I was gonna just I thought for a second I should probably decline this offer because I thought that maybe he would not get as much value. And then we went into it, and then he actually told me afterwards that it was like really fucking helpful. Like all the time that we were doing the session, I had like imposter syndrome, and I was like, wait, I probably shouldn't be doing this, but now we're in it, right? So I might as well just do it. And then afterwards he told me that was like really fucking helpful actually. So I think that's probably one memorable thing, that like your perception of things doesn't mean that it doesn't help anyone like else, right? And that they are feeling the same thing as you. Like that's the big key takeaway, I think, is that what you're feeling, probably maybe the other guy is not even thinking about it like most of the time, right?
You should let other people decide what they value.
Yeah.
And then offer it to them if you can.
Yeah.
And this is interesting to me because Coach Cupcake runs the School of Support. And I DM'd him on Discord one day, like I guess a month and a half ago or 2 months now. And I told him, what was it? Oh, I'm an ADC player, but I've really liked your content. It's helped me. I've been in the Discord. I like the way you are. Could I sign up for coaching? And he said, hey man, I've never coached an ADC before, but I'm not confident I can give you value, but I'll refund you if I can't. Just let's try it out. Let's see how it goes. And I became his guinea pig, his first ADC.
Oh shit.
And now I'm still, on the honor roll because I want to support him. I'm not attending coaching, but there's now a second ADC who's showing up every so often, who's around my age as well. So I'm like, oh, nice, someone has taken my place. That's really good.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So he was saying like, Coach Cupcake was joking that, oh, this will become School of Bot Lane soon, instead of School of Support.
Oh shit. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. That's really nice. Yeah, as you mentioned, right? You could also, because that's the thing. You're also, I'm coaching, but I'm also learning as much. Like probably maybe sometimes even more than my students, because
that's what Coach Cupcake told me. He told me the same thing. Yeah. And I think that's what good coaching, good mentorship looks like. Is it's a two-way street. Learning almost never happens just one way. Even in this podcast episode, we're both learning. Right? It's not one way.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
So my question for you then is, how is your bartending experience helping you during your coaching?
I think the best thing that has helped me is like just once again kind of not be I remember when I was playing as well, I was just constantly, because you know, when you get to a certain elo, you start to play with just the same amount of players, right? Like all the time, it becomes this like small, really small community. Then everyone kind of knows each other. Some people you like, some people you dislike,
Mm-hmm.
some people, I guess, probably. But when the thing was, I was playing, is I was really just, since I was so self-aware all the time,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like whenever I went into a game as well and I was playing with someone that I knew, I felt like, oh, if I perform bad now, this guy will probably talk shit about me and he's not gonna like me anymore. And that was just so fucking important to me for some reason. Like, I don't know. Like, nowadays it's a bit more chill. Now and I'm really thankful for that. And I think the bartending experience kind of helped with that, because now
Mm-hmm.
when I went out and I forced myself to do something that I didn't enjoy, because that was the thing. It was actually my brother who got me that job, because he's like, he was spending a lot of time on that island, and he was just like, he's this guy that he's permanently like talking to people, and he's like always like, you know, really socializing like with just literally like randoms on the street, even though it's like uncommon in Sweden. But this guy is like always never minding his own business. He's always like talking to, which I love. Like, it's really like American way of kind of doing things.
Yeah.
And he has realized that he was just sitting at the bar, and he was like realizing that the boss, like, she had so many things to do, like she looked very fucking stressed.
Mm-hmm.
And he said like, hey, I got a little brother that can like help out if you want. Like, he haven't even asked me, but he was like, I can ask him if he wants some help. Like, he never worked a normal job in his life before. He was just playing video games, but he is down to like help you out if you want to. And she was like, oh, actually that would be fucking great, because she didn't have anyone else to help her at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him calling me, and I remember him saying this, like, oh, you can come. And I was like, okay, when? Like, because at this time I was really like, I never wanted to do anything new for some reason. I would never want to be uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
because I was just so stuck in this. You know, my whole identity was just play League. So if I didn't put every waking hour into that, then what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that, okay, but just come this weekend and you try, right? And the weekend was like one day off. Like, he basically told me like, come here tomorrow. And I was like, I really don't want to fucking do this. I really just, I don't want to do this at all. I felt like every inch of my body was like, I don't want to do this. But I remember that I usually don't have like New Year's like goals or resolution, but I remember one of probably my only goal that year was like to not be scared to try new things, like to say yes, even though I don't want to do things sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I mean, what do I actually have to lose? Like, worst thing, I fucking hate it, and I just do it for 2 days, and then I'm out, right? Like, that's the worst thing that could happen. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I went there, and I actually, yeah, that's when I used to learn, you know, that actually, you know, some saying yes to things, even though sometimes your body is just literally so fucking uncomfortable with that. Like, I still am when people are telling me new things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no cap, actually, like, even though like I really like what you're I like your this and what you're typing, but also when you asked me, my first body reaction was like, no.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that's just how my body reacts. I don't know why it does that, but it just does, because my body's like uncomfortable, I guess, doing new things. But then I was like, wait, actually that sounds really like, when I started to think about it, I was like, wait, even though it feels a bit uncomfortable to put myself on, talk about my life and like my progress, which I don't really enjoy to talk about generally, because I don't really like to talk about myself. I was like, actually, you know, let's fucking do it. So
Yeah.
probably if I didn't get that bartender job, we would probably not be sitting here, like, for sure.
Right.
And I think it has helped me with coaching to the point where I'm not now, even though I still get this like a bit uncomfortable, even like every time I'm supposed to have a coaching session, because I'm just constantly thinking like, oh, what if this guy doesn't like my value? What if I can't provide him what he wants? What if he, like, I can't help him?
Mm-hmm.
But that has got him, and I think that will never probably actually go away. But I'm a lot better at like recognizing that and actually being like, okay, but my body's telling me something, but it doesn't have to be correct. Like, I can
Mm-hmm.
still do this thing, right? And I think that has helped with coaching a lot, because I'm not scared to throw myself into new situation. Like, when I was starting to write like things on Twitter, example, with the mental shit, like, if I did that when I was playing, I would be so scared that people would like laugh at me, and they would be like, oh, what the fuck is this guy saying? Like, he's so delusional. Like, what is he saying? So I think the bartending thing really helped with like overcoming that fear of like actually trying new things and not be scared to do it, right? I think that's also a big thing.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that was a great story. I'm glad that came up. And this is the same
Yeah.
brother you played Warcraft with.
No. I have different. The brother that I played with, he's like 4 years older than me. He's born in '93, and he's like my. But I have two really older brothers as well. We don't have the same. I mean, I look at them as like full brothers, right? But they're actually like my half brothers, and we don't have the same mother. But this guy, no, he's like almost 40 years old. Like this guy's so fucking old, actually. But no, so that was not the same brother. No.
My brother's like 7 years older than me, so like 34.
Oh yeah.
Quite a bit older. Yeah, but
Yeah.
we're the only two brothers.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're hitting about a 1 hour 20 minute mark. Said I'd remind you. So just to close out, I guess I'd like to hear a little more about your dad since I heard about your mother.
Yeah. What would you like to know?
What was it like growing up with him?
I think it was good, but
Mhm.
I think there was also this, which I only realized recently too, when we were at the same brother that got me the job at the island.
Mhm.
He had like a wedding in like Italy of all places. Like this wedding was like as close to perfection as you can come. Like I will never be at a more beautiful wedding than this in my entire life. I'm like 100% sure about this. But when they had like my father had a speech at that wedding, and he was talking a lot about like how, because I never really talked to them about like how it was growing up with, because they're my two, I have two older brothers. Like I have three older brothers. One that is my real brother, I guess, and two of them are like, they are the same age basically, but they are the ones that is my half brothers, right? And their mom died when they were like, I think that they were really young. Like they were kids, like probably younger than 10, I think, both of them.
That's very sad.
She died in cancer, I guess. Like it was really like horrible experience for them, right? Good for me, because I would never been born if that didn't happen. So
Right.
like no cap was good for me, but obviously
Now you
like,
exist. Yeah.
it's not something I tell to them, right? But that must have been so fucking traumatizing for them. And just growing up with like a single father, especially in that time when you were like the mother was supposed to take care of the children and the father was supposed to bring in all the income, right? And they were just supposed to take care of each other that way. When suddenly he didn't have that anymore. He had to do like both of these things, like basically the same. Like he had to bring in all the I think this is like kind of. I think it's more it's more common that a mother is a single mother than at least in Sweden than it is for a father to be like a single father. And I'm not really sure how long it took for him to meet my mother, but he had to like do so much fucking extra shit with those two. And they were also like, my oldest brother was really fucking annoying in school. Like he was perma like getting into trouble, and probably that was like a lot of strain on my father as well. Obviously it turned out good for him no matter what. So like now it's just but I think the fact that he had to do so many extra things for them, I didn't really realize that because when I was little, my mother would do everything for me, and my father would, but not in the same extent as my mom would. Like he loved me, of course, but it was not the same. Like if you know kind of what I mean. Like my mother would just take me everywhere. Like she would do literally fucking, like if she had to jump off a cliff so I would live, she would do it like insta. But I think just realizing at that wedding that my father had to go through so much with them in order to be where he is now, kind of made me accept that, like, okay, actually, because I'm pretty sure now, I'm convinced that he probably didn't want any more children. Like, but I think that my mother obviously, like, obviously she wanted, right? So they probably made like not like a deal, but like, okay, but we have children, but she will be. It's like kind of, how do I say this? It's what's the English word? Like it's not like a deal, but like I guess the same way as in India, you don't have it on paper, but it's like basically
an arrangement.
Yeah, that she would probably like take care of us more than my father did. I'm not saying that my father
so that
was
he
just
wouldn't
like
have to take care of you as much, right? I understand.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah,
then he would agree to having more children, right? So it's not as much a burden on him.
Yeah. I'm like, don't quote me on this because I'm not sure if that's like 100% true, but I think it has something to do with it. And I think growing up with him was just like, it was it was really fun and really chill. Like he was really chill dad. Like he was so fucking embarrassing because he would like perma play like instruments when I had friends over, and he would like come and sing, and that was really cringe, I remember, but now it's funny memory. But I think from what I remember just in childhood was that my mom was so much more active, right? But now I was mad at him at that time for that, because he would not do these kind of things that my mother would, but now I kind of see why, and it's like a lot easier to understand where he came from, which is also like nice to be able to kind of let go of, because at some point I was like mad at him for not for helping me out, but he was like, literally the typical marriage, like the father's like laying on the couch reading the newspaper, and the mom is like cooking, like cleaning, doing all these things. And while I think it was justified for me to be like mad at him for not helping out with these things, I think it's like a lot easier to now understand kind of where this shit came from, and not kind of judge his whole personality based on that, right? Like my father's like the best person ever. Like obviously I love him to death, right? But this is really different in the way that I was brought up by my two parents, right?
So was he like away from home quite a bit working, or he was at home but just chilling with
No,
newspaper on the
he
couch?
was at home, but he was chilling, yeah.
Okay,
So
interesting.
once again, I'm not saying that was like a traumatic experience or something like this. It was not. It was just
You were just closer to your mother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Did he ever tell you not to play games or anything? Your dad?
No, I guess actually that was
So,
actually something that he encouraged me to do, and I think that was because I was his like fourth child, and I think in one way, obviously he cared about me, but he was also like, the fourth child is like, okay, I mean, it's gonna work out no matter what. Like, just let him do whatever. They also want me to be happy, right? I think with your first child, you're always you're probably so like aware of everything that this guy does, and that he forced my two older brothers to go to like, like they forced them to study like nature science, or like do all these like trial things in school, and like like everything, like get insanely good grades or you're fucked, basically, things like this, and he kind of forced
high
them to
pressure.
be
Yeah.
yeah
Asian family, basically.
yeah, basically. But with
Yeah.
me, it was like, do whatever you want. And my mother was like, obviously, it was a second child only, and also, so that was a bit different from her. But he was able to just, I mean, just do whatever you want as long as you don't like fail. Yeah, as long as you don't fail in school, like do whatever you want, right? So that was obviously really good. Because
Cool.
without that, I would not be here, right, as well.
Yeah,
Just
not a
funny to
lot of
think about.
parents are supportive of, esports, video
Yeah.
games, things like that.
Yeah, for sure not. I think this is now it's way more common, I think, but at that time as well, like I think that was also like a thing where because I got my first like gig in high school when I was in third grade in high school. I was like 18, I guess, and I was supposed to go to Turkey to try to qualify for like the highest division, and they wanted me to go there and play with the team for like a week or 2 weeks, I think, and I think if I was their third child, I would never like have been allowed to go. Like they would probably think that I was gonna get like
Mugged. Or what?
mugged. Yeah, for sure,
Robbed.
for
It's a
sure. Like
scam. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Like trafficking or like something insane. Like But
Yeah.
my father was like really chill as well, and I was like, oh man, just if that's fucking fun and that's nice, man. You want to do this, then go do it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that as well just helped a lot. Because as you mentioned, right, if you don't have the support, you can still do things. It's not like but obviously it's so much easier if you feel like you have actually that backup from your family too, and like they are supporting you. It just helps out incredible amount.
Of course. Yeah. Support is like a base human need, right? We want to know
Yeah,
that if we fail, people will be there to help us. If we succeed, they can celebrate with us and so on.
yeah, for sure.
So my final question, I'm actually quite curious about your mother because my mother, she pursued like a PhD and she did all these amazing things. She traveled around the world, learned a lot of stuff. And my dad gave her independence. At first, he was paying for all of this. Then he said, "Look, this is getting expensive. So you can do whatever you want, but you got to figure out how to pay for it."
Yeah.
So she started her own career. She was, basically doing some kind of therapy and healing for people and sessions with them. And she built her own, her whole business that way. And it was interesting to me to realize that that's surprising with her culture. So with your mom, do you know what she wanted to do at the police, in the police force? What kind of role she wanted?
She wanted to do
Detective
basically
work?
similar. Yeah, I think it's similar work to what she's doing now. Just she's working at the hospital. She's doing like administration things, like basically similar, but just to
Okay.
work in the police station instead, right? And do like
Okay.
kind of administration things for them. I think that's what she kind of wanted. I don't think she wanted to be an officer per se. Maybe she when she was like a lot younger, but I don't think she wanted to be that for like a long time. But she just wanted to be in the police force, I guess, because I guess things are happening there, or like it's exciting. I guess that's probably what she was thinking. But I haven't really actually. Maybe I should talk about. That's the thing. I sometimes I talk about this with her, but also I'm obviously like I'm not the one to like force her to do anything. Like obviously she can do whatever the fuck she wants, right? But if it's hard to like convince someone that they can do something, therefore they're like happy with what they have, right, already, like which is completely fine as well, right? Obviously.
Well, if she ever wants to be and you ever want it, you could bring her on the podcast, either you together or just her. But if you come on together, that could be interesting because you could have that conversation. I could ask some questions
Yeah,
that might
I
challenge her
think.
notion of contentment, right?
Yeah,
Because it's
I think.
it's possible
Yeah,
she could get a job as an admin at a police station today, right? She has experience, she has knowledge.
that is. Yeah, I mean that's for sure true. That's the thing. Like she has all the knowledge and experience that she needs. But I think. I think that would be interesting. I'm pretty sure she would not want to do that because she's like so out of touch with all this like online. She thinks it's already way too much online things. Like she likes old-fashioned things. But I mean, I could try to talk her into it, right? But I think if I will ask her. But I think if she's not comfortable, I probably will not. I will just keep it at that. I will just ask her yes or no, and she'll
Yeah,
be like, okay.
of
And then
course,
stick
no
it.
no reason to pressure her, right? Just ask.
Yeah.
And you can just frame it as like you and her having a conversation with me. And you could even send her this episode or watch part of it with her and just show her what it was like. Because probably she does not know the things that you've told me about yourself, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that
so,
is true. Actually, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I'll do that. Actually, I'll do
yeah.
that.
All right. It was really great to have you on Emtest. I'm happy to have you on anytime you want to be. We've hit our
Yeah.
hour and 30. Is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with? Any advice for them? Anything you'd like to share? I'll put all your links in the description as well. Your Twitch and
Oh,
Twitter and Discord and everything.
thank you, man.
Yeah, of course.
I think not really. I think just once again, like, kind of accept the fact that even though sometimes your mind or someone is telling you like you should not do this, then at least in my case, like doing those kind of things when I know that I didn't want to do them, then it just felt so fucking good afterwards, like most of the time. Like obviously there are like extreme cases, right, where you feel like obviously like obviously there are things your mind just knows you shouldn't do, like bad things to harm yourself. Like obviously those things you obviously don't do, but just things that you're uncomfortable with doing, like trying new things. I think it's just really important that you like. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's not that you don't have to be excited about doing new things. Like it's, of course, it's a bonus, but it's not like a requirement. But you can still choose to do them and get a lot of enjoyment and fulfillment from them. And yeah, with that being said, I would also like love to be a part of this like another time as well. I felt like I learned so much about myself and like about what was that guy's name again? The Smash player, not the Smash player.
Daigo.
Daigo, yeah, like
Yes,
that
super
guy's quote
Street Fighter.
was
I'll send you a clip of his where he like he
yeah,
does a amazing mechanical play and saves himself
yeah,
at like 1 HP. Yeah, I'll send it to you.
yeah.
But
Okay,
yeah,
that's
I'm happy to have you on.
right.
I learned a lot as well. And yeah, I think when you talk, you also reflect and you learn. That's why I write so
Yeah.
much in Discord and talk.
Yeah.
Like that's how I think. You know, I can't think in my head. It's just not that effective. So
Yeah, that was the reason I wanted to do this too. Like I knew that I would be able to learn a lot of things about myself too, and learn about you as well, right? So like learn things from each other. I think that's the best way to learn. So that was perfect, man. Thank you so much for this. It was an honor.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was my pleasure.
Nice.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too, man. See you.
Bye.
Bye.